But some motherfuckers in the past, the masters and all the concepts of chess told you that you should first develop the pieces in the opening. But now with Stockfish, now the times are changing, and now there are many ideas with h4, h5, and h6, and the, just push the h pawn with white and with black too. Later I'm going to post another games with black, but with white is the most common to push the h pawn so early. And now the grandmasters know that thanks to the computers, and they are played in their games. So I'm going to show us a game of Matthias Blueman made in this idea, and who helped him to advance round in the World Cup. So let's analyze the game. Okay, Matthias start with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, c takes. Okay, now the main move was it takes d5. But now many grandmasters are taking here with the knight just to avoid the card bad main lines. Because okay, it takes was the main move and bishop g5. Okay, now the game is so complex. But the black players are going now more for knight takes d5. It's a move who is being so employed the last months. Okay, e4, nice c3, bc3, and okay, now we see that white have more control of the center, but the black idea is going to be break the center with c5, playing in a Grunfeld style, but with the bishop on e7 instead of the bishop on g6. But the idea is more or less the same, just try to break the center with c5. Okay, rook b1, bishop e7, knight f3, short castle, and now comes the idea of Blueman, who is h4. Like I told, this move was start to play in the last 20 years, more or less. Not in the past, this move could be uh, amazing, completely strange. In the past, all the players play like bishop c4, later go with short castle, rook e1, and just develop the rest of the pieces. And maybe one day after all the pieces are developed, later they can play h4. But nowadays, thanks to the help of the machines, many players are starting to understand that the move h4 in the opening is so important, and take the space with the rook pawns, especially to attack the opponent king. And one idea is take a space here with the pawn, open the 7 rank for the rook, and just try to attack the black king. Here the development is not so important because the white center is more or less stable, and okay, black can put some pressure, but there is not enough. So white can just push the h pawn. So very interesting move here, h4. A bishop c4 is the main move, but I really like h4 by Blueman. b6. The idea of b6 is just develop the bishop. There are two ideas, but one was just develop the bishop via e6 to trade the bishop. And here he could still push in the pawn with h5, a6, rook h3, for example, king h8, rook g3, bishop b7, bishop d3, takes, and knight d7. But that's okay, the position is more or less equal. But of course, it's too interesting to play for win with white. But Blueman prepares bishop d3 first, just first developing the bishop, and later he could advance the pawn. And now black have like two normal move, or just take here and develop the knight, who okay could be so scary for black because e5 here so strong. It's h6, now rook h3. Yeah, if of course coming to g3 probably to attack the pawn. f5, black should break the position. He takes, bishop takes, and now queen e2, queen e4, trading queens. Take, bishop b7, and okay, this is a long line, but it's more or less equal. But okay, Ahmed select he prefers to trade bishops, which is completely normal because the bishop on c8 is not making nothing, and the d3 bishop is very good. So, like I told you, the idea of b6 is trade these bishops with bishop a6. And here we have two options, or d5, who is interesting, or just, and this pawn sacrifice was really interesting. Now the d5 pawn is so powerful. But okay, he's still with his plan of take here. Now, okay, can look like black managed to trade his bad bishop, and apart white lost two tempos with bishop d3 and knight a6. But now the problem is that the knight is bad placed on e4. That's the problem of this knight. The knight is a little bit misplaced on a6. Sorry. So Blueman still with his plan, with h5. She takes, and now comes the mistake of Ahmed, who is just avoid a6. allowed a6, sorry. He should avoid that and playing a6 by himself. Just stopping h6, who is going to be a so yes annoying move. A6 here, okay, white can play or for example or short castle and later rook b3 or rook b3 deal this or castle, queen e2, something like that. But knight b4 and black is more or less equal. Uh, but he played f5, who is a incorrect move just because allows white to play a6. That's the huge problem of black position. And the pawn on a6 is going to be so annoying because if you take the pawn, the rook be open, your king be open, and if you play g6, we're going to see that the pawn on a6, yes, is so annoying. For example, a normal move like queen c7 is bad again because a6. Simply, and this pawn is so annoying. So f5 by Ahmed trying to open the position, who could be logical, but the problem is that after takes now very good move h6. Uh, okay, he played g6, who could looks like the natural move, just to not open the h file, and looks like the most natural move d6, not open the h file. But here the machines say that white is close to be winning, not winning, but so much better. The machine prefers to defend the move queen d5, but it's so difficult because you should take the pawn who looks so strange, rook b3, rook e1, and white have so much development. And all the white pieces are perfectly placed, and the black pieces are so strange. The queen on e2, the knight on e6. The black pieces are so bad. Bishop f6 takes a knight c7, and okay, white is better here. Or here, knight b2 could be a better option. But d6, who looks like the natural move, just closing the h file. Now the problem is going to be that the h6 pawn is so annoying this pawn, and the black king is going to be unsafe. So short castle, very good move. Now the rook is misplaced on h1, so now the rook should go to e1, queen d5, and here comes the first inaccuracy of Bluebaum. I don't know if I pronounce well his name, but okay, of Matthias. I'm going to say Matthias, Matthias. I don't know, Matthias. Here he played rook b3, but was stronger queen e2. uh, Trying to attack directly the e6 pawn. Because the problem with rook b3 is that black have tempo to play knight b4. But with queen e2, knight b4 is bad because rook e1, and you cannot defend the f7 pawn. And if rook c8, bishop e3, pinning the knight. And okay, black came with knight e7, who is the natural move to defend the pawn. Now the knight is better placed on b7 than on b4. So that's the idea of play queen e2 first. But okay, rook b3 is playable. Knight b4, and now he came with his plan of queen e2. And here the problem is that rook e1 is not possible because now I can play knight e2. So for that reason, he pinned the knight, obviously. And now Ahmed make a terrible mistake, who is playing this pawn and entering all the complications because he's completely lost after all of that. The problem of being trading pieces is that the black king is going to be more unsafe and more lines open, and the queen can land on g7 early. So here was stronger a5, just holding the position, rook e1, and just give the pawn and try to play for the compensation. If of course it's not a great compensation because white is better, but okay, it's the best that black have. Here b5, rook here, and white have a clear pawn up, of course. There is no doubt about that. The problem of 92 is just what Matthias plays, refuse the move. Here, queen b2, very good move. And you cannot take the bishop because your rook is hanging. Sorry, you cannot take because your rook is hanging. And if you take here, I suppose that here rook f3, and now maybe a f3 for repetition. That's the idea of 92, but here very strong move, queen b2. Um, yes, black just try to come back with the knight. Here, of course, if you cannot take because I can take with the rook. In the other line with the queen on e2, you cannot recapture with the rook because your rook is pinned because the queen is hanging. So queen b2, very good move of Bloom. I don't know if Ahmed missed this move or he just want to enter in all of this. But after here, white is just winning knight c3, trying to leave with the knight. But now just bishop e7, knight e2, queen takes, and queen b3. Here we saw that white have two pieces, the bishop and the knight. against a rook and two pawns, and can look like black is up on material. No, sorry, black have a rook and one pawn, and white two pieces can look like the material is equal, but the black king is so unsafe. So because the h6 pawn who is so stronger, and all the dark squares are open, so now the black king is so unsafe. So here white is completely winning. d5 by Bluebaum, very good move. Open yes, open the long diagonal. So I really like this move. Open this diagonal and reaching early the square d7 with the queen. It's a queen land on g7 is checkmate. So I really like the move d4 by Bluebaum. Just open files. Doesn't care about material and just open files. I really like this move. So queen d5, rook d1, winning tempo against the queen here, check, because rook take is not possible because queen takes. So king f7, knight d5, king here, and Roman just keep one queen and a knight against two rook. And it's not only that he have one queen and a knight, it's a part that the black king is so unsafe. So the position is completely winning here for white. I'm going to pass the rest of the moves fast because the rest is so easy. So Bluman give the knight, but because he knows that he's going to promote the h pawn. So very good game of Bluman. Yes, I really like this game, especially the first plan, the first idea of h4 here, who like 30 years ago, this move can never been seen. But for example, let's see the database. This move first appeared in 2018, and bishop c4. I don't know, maybe yes, bishop c4 was played in 1917 by Polugayeski. Later in 1996, in 1999, but the first time that bishop c4 was played was in 1970, and h4 the first time who was played is in 2018. So, like I told, h4 is a very fashion move, thanks to the machine that the grandmaster and well, and in general the people who learn about well, with the machine or with masters are starting to play this type of moves, and this move is helping the masters to win their games and advance rounds in the World Cup. So, very good game of Luman who advanced to the next round. So let's see how continue the World Cup. Bye bye, motherfuckers.